Tesla fans are celebrating a big boost in the stock after yesterday's earnings report. Here to dive into the details is MarketBeat analyst Thomas Hughes. Thomas, that stock really went up yesterday after this report.
Yeah, it did shoot up quite remarkably. I think about 15%. That was pretty unexpected. But I think the move is a lot of optimism and enthusiasm over the margin, which was really good. But I think that ultimately the gains will be capped for 2024 at the top of a trading range. So investors should really be careful about chasing this market higher.
Yeah, this is a big reaction, obviously, coming out after this report. Let's dive into some of the things that investors are reacting to. What has them excited? Let's start there.
Well, I think what has them excited more than anything else is the margin. The company was able to widen its margin significantly on lower cost and cost controls, but also on a boom in selling tax credits and then strengthen their other businesses. They're growing by double digits, but they're about 15% of the total, so they're not going to be a significant growth driver over the next year. The core business only grew by 2%. That's like 80% slower than the rest of the industry. So this is a sign of loss of market share and a serious headwind for the business that will continue to blow over the next year.
While it might be a while before it comes, investors seem to be really excited about a couple of products specifically that Tesla has plans for coming out in the next 2 years.
Right. So they're expecting to launch the codename Model 2, the lower price models, early next year. And then the Cybercab is supposed to be real viable by early in 2026. But it is questionable that either of those things will happen according to the timeline. And that's just a factor that will help support the price over time, but also may cap gains in the near term as we wait to see what happens.
Let's talk a little bit more about the Cybercab and kind of the company's move towards automation. It seems like investors were excited to hear about that too, hoping to kind of broaden their potential for revenue growth in the future.
Well, right. So, in the words of Elon Musk himself, this automation, the cybercab is the company's future. The market's been expecting a model to come out in the $25,000 range, and he says that's going to be unlikely because the cybercab is expected to cost $25,000. He doubled down saying that automation is the company's future growth trajectory. So eventually, once the FSD technology becomes real viable, he expects all cars to be automated. And in that world, only cybercabs will exist because we won't need to have our own cars. We can just say, hey, cybercab, come pick me up, and there'll be one ready for you.
Well, investors who might be excited about that kind of future might be behind some of this big run up in the stock right now. Let's talk about what's currently happening with Tesla. And that's not the cyber cab, that's the cyber truck. Starting to
Right.
see more of these all over the place. Talk about the profitability of that line.
Well, it's improving, but it's still one of the drags on the margin. But ultimately, the margin news was real good. They achieved their lowest cost per vehicle on record. So across the system, they're doing a very good job to reduce their costs, and that is really critical for the long-term trajectory of the stock price and the company's profitability.
Let's get into how long you think this run up might stick around. All of the things about the company we just talked about. Do you think this 15% run up is sustainable? Is it going to go higher? Or are we going to see a little pullback coming soon?
Well, I think that it could go a little bit higher, but the stock is trading within a well-established range. It probably has about another 10% to go to hit the top of the range, but I would expect to see the gains capped there. Um, the analysts, I mean, they're pretty optimistic about the news. They're looking towards the future as well, and they have been increasing their price target since the news was released, but they didn't upgrade the stock. It's still pegged at a hold, and the price target increases were pretty minimal. They're still within a pretty tight range, and the consensus is still below the critical resistance point. So I think that that is another factor that will limit the upside potential this year.
Yeah. Do you think in a couple of years we might see some more swings in stock as they do move to making that more automation a reality?
I think that there'll be some pretty big price swings in Tesla, but the thing with this company, they're very successful. They're on a good trajectory. The only question is timing. So I would be prepared to buy it when it dips and to sell it when it rips.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Thomas, for coming on to talk about this stock that everyone is talking about right now this week. We have more on Tesla on this channel. We've covered this company lots of times. So go ahead and dig into some of those other videos that we've done talking about Tesla. And as always, thanks for watching here at MarketBeat Media. Happy investing.